Welcome back, folks. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. He is Gary Sheffield Jr. This is Yankees Unloaded following a Yankees win. They've now won 6 of the last 7 games, which we love to see. 8-3 final score from the stadium against the Blue Jays. Rodon gave a pretty good effort. I think the box score is a little, it doesn't tell the full story with Rodon. And in addition to that, we had 3 home runs. Aaron Judge went yard. Anthony Volpe continued hitting hot, and we got a rare but always fun Trent Grisham bomb. So that is that, but we're going to get into the show. Gary, I'll ask you, what were your thoughts from this game? Because, overall, I thought it was pretty fun to watch.
Well, as you said with Rodon, Rodon was much better than what it says, because you have to remember, we had that whole issue going on. I wouldn't even call it an issue. Rodon clearly didn't want to come out of this game, and Aaron Boone, who a lot of people say, well, he has an analytic and it determines when he's pulling guys, when he's keeping guys in. And it was very clear Aaron Boone wanted to pull him out of that game. And Rodon told him to kick rock. Here's where I'll give Boone some credit. At some point or another, you do have to listen to your players and give them an opportunity to prove themselves. He gave Rodon some slack. It didn't work. I remember texting you and saying, this hardly works. Like outside of Mike Messina back in the day, most often when you see a Max Scherzer, Clayton Kershaw, a lot of guys with pedigree, right? These guys have done it in the big leagues for a long time. They always ask their manager. They always ask Dave Roberts, please leave me in this game. And that's a good thing. You want a pitcher who wants to be on the mound. Obviously, it didn't work. We brought in Cousins. He gave up some weak contact the other way. And when you look at the box score, you see 5 1/3 with 3 innings surrendered. As far as I'm concerned, Rodon gave up 1. That's kind of the way he was pitching. And I will say one other thing. I really wanted to bring up Ben Rice. That was the biggest play of the game. And I know nobody, when they clicked this episode, thought we would talk about this play. And it pertains to what happened yesterday with Gabe Torres. And a lot of people saying him costing us a run didn't cost us the game because it was a 3-run game. Well, hold on here, Jake. Let me be consistent. Ben Rice hits a ground ball to Spencer Orwitz, who statistically, the second baseman for the Toronto Blue Jays, is in the red defensively. He's incredible over there at second base. He boots the ball, okay, situationally. It's a 2-1 game. Don't you know he boots this ball? Ben Rice, only because he's running, is safe by a step and a half. Very next at bat, we get a Trent Grisham 2-run bomb, making it 4-1. And it changed the entire complexion of this game. Ground ball to second base, you make an out right there. The Toronto Blue Jays, the difference between the Blue Jays and the Yankees and the Red Sox and a lot of these teams that are winning and losing are things like that. Yes, there's a disparity in talent. But when you have a player like Ben Rice, who absolutely had an impact on this game and the whole feel of the game, he was 0 for 4. He didn't drive in any runs. But if you look at the box score, he was 0 for 4 with a run. And if from the outside looking in, you'd say, well, he didn't really do much. What's he going to do tomorrow? Well, he did something today to help us win. And that's the whole gist of what I've been saying this entire time, these past few weeks, especially heading up to the deadline. What can you do for this Yankees team who's trying to go win a division without hitting a homer? What can you do for us? Because I know you're not going to be a consistent home run hitter like Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. So I need these other things. Ben Rice did that today, so I wanted to circle that and not forget it, because this show is going to be like 40 minutes long. Most podcasts are not going to talk about Ben Rice. They're just not today. They're going to talk about the guys who were 2 for 3, guys who hit a ball in the seats, and I totally understand that. But I thought his play and just his effort alone made this game feel different. This game felt like a win from the very beginning. It was overall a fun game. I remember you texting me that this game was fun. In large part, it was fun because we had a cushion and we didn't have to worry about, is Clay Holmes going to blow a 6-run lead? No, the games are different when Holmes comes in and we have a massive lead. So I want to give Ben Rice credit.
I like it. I actually just pulled up his Savant page while you were talking, and wouldn't you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 categories in the red. Almost all the way, the bar. So it's expected slugging. He's currently at 429. His expected slugging is 556. His expected batting average is 265. I've actually been seeing a lot of the same I feel like he's going through the exact same motions that Austin Wells went through. I'm seeing the same stuff on Twitter. People are like, yeah, if you really look at Ben Rice's insert random analytic here, it actually shows you right now he's one of the most unlucky players in baseball. Wouldn't you know, we were just talking about that in April about Austin Wells, and how we kept saying like, well, at some point or another, it's going to turn a corner. And it has. Well, Ben Rice, I've actually been really impressed with him as of late. I think he is, I understand he went 0 for 4 today, but I think he's past his slump. I really do. Like his outs are productive, or, at least even if you're not moving a runner over, you're, not a sack fly, you're getting really good contact on the ball. So I can live with that. It makes me more upset about the fielder catching it than it does at the hitter, because he hit it right on the screws. And of course there's a guy right there, an atom ball, if you will. So look, I think Ben Rice has really started to develop, and I really saw that the other night defensively, that incredible play defensively that really, I don't even think we got a chance to talk about, but it's stuff like that why I'm like, you want Anthony Rizzo playing over him in October? You want DJ LeMahieu? DJ LeMahieu booted that ball against the Phillies, and if Gabe Torres wasn't there, they lose that game. A lot of people.
No, it's definitely true. But Jake, I have to imagine that you don't want players, and you don't want a lot of them. A lot of players on your team where they have to hit to make any impact. Remember, we've talked about Anthony Volpe. His ability to get on base is going to be huge for this team. He's down in the order now, but remember, when we put him at the leadoff spot, we didn't say he had to hit 300. We said he had to get on base, right? That was his role. Each and every one of these players has a role. Anthony Volpe needs to get on base. I know he hit a home run today, and that's awesome, but that's not his job. His job is to get on base. So all these homers that he hits, that's a bonus to what you see with his glove. Ben Rice, and the reason I've talked about him today is that he didn't hit today. He didn't get to high five his teammates and get all excited for what he did, right? He didn't get the praise. 99% of shows today aren't going to talk about him, and that's fine. That's human. This is baseball. We talk about the guys who hit homers, fine. But Ben Rice found a way to make hard contact today, and he found a way somehow to impact the game, which, by the way, he knew. I just hit a ground ball because remember yesterday we talked about Gabe Torres, and after the game he said, I made a mistake. Okay? That was what he said. I made a mistake, right? An error in judgment. That's what he said. And a lot of people took that as accountability. Here's where I love this action from Ben Rice and how this is championship baseball, right? He hit a ball to a player, statistically, who won't boot this ball. No way. He won't. But he ran anyway. Do you know why? Because there's no calculation of is it a smart play for me to run or not. He just runs every time. That's part of being a championship team. Of course, championship teams pitch well. They locate pitches well. They drive balls into the seats, right? They do all the sexy stuff. But what about all those role guys? What about the guys that you don't think of on a roster from those championship teams? They don't do nothing all day. They do something. They find a way to make an impact. And when you look at an 8-3 game, you're going to say, okay, Aaron Judge hit a homer, Vulpi hit a homer. You look at all the cool stuff, and that's amazing. It's going to be on SportsCenter, but no one remembers these plays. And these plays change your culture. Is it going to impact the way the Yankees play the rest of the season? Probably not. But I will say this. When you have a player who's not shortcutting the process, when he starts hitting, that's when you get a special type of impact. So, yeah, last I'll say about Ben Rice, loved what he did. I know it's little. You're running out of ground ball at second base, but everyone tells you that they would hustle on a ground ball to second base. But then you watch the game of baseball, and how often does it really happen before your eyes? It doesn't happen often. So I was glad it actually helped the Yankees today.
Yeah, and I'll actually, I'm going to defend, well, not defend, but I'm going to give props to a guy who was under a lot of fire, who you mentioned, Gabe Torres. I thought that one play where Chisholm hit it to first base, really unfortunate. You hit it right at the first baseman. He's able to step on the bag, and then you're done. Essentially, your runner's screwed because you're just going to throw it to second. He's out. Not today. Glaber hustled his ass over there, and he slid head first. and he did a little bit of like a swim move and was able to get in there under a tag because for whatever reason the guy didn't tag the base, and he was safe, and that led to the next at bat. Anthony Volpe steps in and he delivers that 2-run shot. Now it's 2-run shot instead. Look at how that happened now twice today. So it's a reminder, and this is kind of the thing. Show me, don't tell me. Don't tell me, oh yeah, I made a mistake. Like, go out and show me that you're better. Go out and show me that. And I feel like Glaber did that today. I wanted to also give him props because like you mentioned, instead of, oh, that's a solo shot or whatever with Grisham, and it's now 3-1. Now it's 4-1. And then the same exact thing happens 3 innings later in the 5th inning where Volpe hits that home run to left center. And, now it's a 6-1 ball game instead of 5-1. And when you start to put together, multiples and you're hitting 2 and 2 and 2, the game starts feeling like it's slipping away. When solo shots are being hit, teams don't really feel as bad. They're like, all right, we're still in this game.
That's just the way the game's played today now. Solo shots.
When you start seeing guys on base trotting around with the guy who just hit the home run, it's in your head. It's like, oh crap, that's a lot of runs that are about to be put on that board. It's a little tough. But I wanted to piggyback off the Volpe mention. Anthony Volpe has become an above average hitter. I'm fine saying that. I really believe this. I think he had a really bad slump. He started off great to start the year. And then, he started to get back into his old habits, which, by the way, Gary, this is what I kind of called this. I think when he goes into a slump, he's going to go back into his old habits. Well, now his launch angle has definitely changed. Like, he has a little bit more of an uppercut again. He said he didn't do anything. He didn't change anything. They always say that at the All-Star break. He's now homered 5 times in the last 11 games. He's batting,
and slugging is now eclipsed 400.
Yeah, he's now batting 355 in the last 15. And Gary, I'll say this right now, looking at his rookie season, okay, he had 601 plate appearances. Mm-hmm. He has 500 this year. He had 541 at-bats. He has 463 this year. So last year, more at-bats, a decent amount more at-bats in his rookie year at this point. He's got 10 more runs. He's got 8 more hits this year. He's got 10 fewer home runs, which I'm okay with. He's got 5 fewer stolen bases. His batting average has gone from 209 to 261. His on-base percentage is up from 283 to 310. His slugging percentage is 383 to 408. And his OPS went from 666, kind of scary, to 718. Now, I'll be honest with you. Is that, one of the best prospects in baseball? Like, is that what he should be doing? No, but I'm going to take this because I like even if it's baby steps, and I won't even call it baby steps. He looks like a way more confident player. And in addition to that, who else is playing, as far as running the bases and playing the field? I mean, this is honestly one of the best base runners in the league. I mean, his baseball savant has been the 98th percentile, and fielding 98th percentile, and range 99th percentile, sprint speed 86th percentile. Okay, so I am willing to see this out with him. I understand things that have been tough, but I like the way he's responded. And it's not like the whole BS, like, oh yeah, the All-Star break, I'll just figure things out. He just said he didn't do anything. So I think it really tells me either he did something and he's not saying it, or more than likely, it's a mental thing. He really just needed a mental break. I've said it multiple times to you. Aaron Boone's always given this guy a day and this guy a day. I said, why don't we give Volpe a day? Like, how have you not given Volpe a day to just, kind of decompress? And I think the All-Star break was the day he needed, because now you're starting to see a way more confident hitter. I don't care where he hits in the lineup, and neither does he. You saw him hitting 9th yesterday, still hit a home run, still was impactful. Today hit, 6th or 7th? I don't care where he hits in the lineup. I really don't. If he continues to play at this level, if he continues to be confident, the thing that happens is that his hitting is only going to get better, hopefully, but his fielding is going to get better, and he's already one of the best fielding infielders in the league. So right now, is he a superstar? No, But Gary, I have really come around on Volpe as of late. I don't think this is fluky. And the hope is that he can translate this to October, because that to me is the biggest thing. I don't really care so much if he, continues to hit like this, that's great. But if he gets to October and he lays an egg and he's hitting like 125, no one is going to care. I mean, we're going to care, but not in the way that So that's what I would say about Volpe. I love seeing the power. I don't need the power. I need the consistency. And that is what these last 15 games and since the All-Star break has brought: consistency.
Yeah. And you can't say that any better. I want to say this in a way that doesn't sound overly critical, because I don't want to criticize Anthony Volpe, especially the way he's played right now. And frankly, performance is all we ask for. I mean, that's what we want: effort and performance. If you're getting that to us, the Yankees are probably going to win games. If Anthony Volpe plays this way, we're going to win games, and you don't really have to win at an insane clip considering the way Baltimore's playing right now. If Baltimore loses later tonight, we're a first-place team. So as much as happened wrong with this team this year, we technically, you mean to tell me, over the course of this regular season, we're the best team in the division? Well, we would take that. But let me say this about Anthony Volpe. You are who you most often are. That's what I say about Anthony Volpe and most of these players on the big league roster. If you're a player who for the first 2.5 weeks of the season were a 290 hitter, and you for the next 2.5 months hit under 200, didn't have any pop, you weren't getting on base, frankly, and then the break comes, right? A much needed break. You obviously got the demotion and we moved you down in the order, right? Most people said, well, this should be technically a much easier role for Anthony Volpe to handle, and it could help him. Well, you combine the break with the role. Anthony Volpe, whatever he did, he's now the version of Anthony Volpe that we had to have all year. That's the player that we were hoping to see. We didn't need 30 homers and hitting 310. When we talked earlier this year, we said, what version of Anthony Volpe would be acceptable? Your prediction was 275. Mine was around there, 280, right? Because I said if you're going to protect him, he needs to hit 280 and above. Yeah. But you need to give me some pop. Well, he's providing some pop now, and he's at least trending towards the 275 to 280 we talked about. But again, it's more about the baseline of Anthony Volpe. When you turn on a Yankees game, who do you most often see? And most often this year, we've seen a player who's anemic offensively. But I will say this, Jake, and this is most important. He can turn this around. It is possible. What we're seeing right now is the version of Volpe we need. So he doesn't need to massively improve over the version that we're currently seeing. He just needs longevity. I can't tell you Anthony Volpe's back and it's now going to be all smooth sailing. In 2 weeks' time, he could hit 140. He's shown that to us that it can happen. So I'm just in wait and see mode. Show it to me. I would love to cover it personally. I don't want anyone to believe that I'm waiting for our top prospects, guys that we consider to be untouchables, and Anthony Volpe or Jasson Dominguez or Spencer Jones, and I'm waiting for them to not play well so that I can talk about what we should do next. It doesn't help the Yankees win championships when your top guy that was untradeable isn't hitting. So objectively speaking, I want this to continue, because if it does, Baltimore, who just called up Jackson Holliday, they need him to perform. So now we're in a competition essentially of your top guys who you called top prospects. They need to give an output to change a pennant race. And the Yankees right now are leading in that department. Obviously, Volpe got here earlier. So we're going to see what happens, what transpires. I would love, Jake, in 2 weeks, if we're still talking about the red hot Anthony Volpe, it's much more fun to watch Yes Network when we're not talking about Volpe's swing plane. Because that's what we do. We talk about his swing, how it's changed. Oh, nice uppercut there. Because when you hit a homer, it's a nice uppercut and he's on plane. But when he's popping up to the catcher, we have to act like he has to chop down a tree like he's George Washington. He doesn't. He just needs to hit. So that's our whole thing here. We want to cover offensive players who are doing their thing. Volpe right now is doing the thing. He's doing it. So happy to see it. And I also, Jake, I had to bring up Juan Soto. Juan Soto was a player today who most people, again, you look at the box score, 1 for 5, didn't do a ton, right? It didn't feel like one of those Juan Soto days.
Can I predict what you're gonna say?
Yeah.
Because I know what you're going to say. Because I thought the same exact thing because we both played baseball. That's the reality of it. If you played baseball, then you saw it. If you didn't ever, then you probably don't know what we're talking about.
Hold on. Before I give you credit, what is it you want to bring up?
It's the Grisham play. He saw that he was going to lay out, so we backed him up.
Perfect. So let me explain the situation for those of you who potentially missed this play. This was, in my opinion, again, championship baseball. Yes. I'm not trying to get too high because we won 8-3 against a last place Blue Jays team. I care about habits, and I bring up habits in wins and losses always. Okay. Yeah. Soft line drive out to Trent Grisham. Now, the play was teed up for an old school ESPN top 10 play diving play, right? And Trent Grisham can go snag it with the best of them. He's one of the best center fielders in baseball defensively. Obviously, he hasn't put it together offensively, but he does his thing defensively. It was teed up perfectly for a diving play. Do you think Juan Soto was standing out in right field thinking about his, man, I'm going to make $600 million this year. I look great out here. 22 fits me nice. He's chilling. How many people would be thinking if he didn't back up the center fielder who made a diving play and missed it? How many people in 2 weeks' time would be thinking of Juan Soto? None. We would be thinking of his homers. We'd be thinking that he's hitting 300. We would be thinking his ops is 1,000. Juan Soto went and backed up Trent Grisham. And after making the diving play, he misses the ball. Soto is right there to gun the ball back in, keeping a man at first base. And by the way, Kirk was up next for Toronto, who already drove in 2 runs today. So if you don't think these plays change the entire complexion of these games, they do. Anytime you talk about these championship teams, it seems like, oh man, like a lot of these teams, regardless of sport, they tend to get the bounce, don't they? They tend to not get the call going against them. They tend to get the right bounces. Just so happen the timing works out. Sometimes you have to make your own luck. And I thought in general, that play was a perfect microcosm of what a team needs to do if they want to prove to me they want to win a championship. One of your best players who's making $30+ million this year is doing the dirty work. So again, when you talk about players not doing it, like Gabe Torres or Alex Verdugo, we can hold those players accountable as long as guys like Aaron Judge and Juan Soto are doing stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't stress enough because I saw it too, and that was the first thing I thought. I was like, that's championship baseball. But you know what? It's also a reminder that, we talk about, well, when you're that, when you're up there and you're a veteran, you get comfortable, you get almost like you get lackadaisical, and I always use the word entitlement. And I feel like the comment sections really appreciated that because they call Verdugo that all the time. Our comment section calls out Verdugo every night. So, and he did jog, by the way. He won't get yelled at, but he jogged when he should have been running to first. Anyway, my point is that, there could be entitlement with Juan Soto. He is absolutely good enough to have that feeling. But wouldn't you know, he's always running to first. Wouldn't you know, he's not afraid to lay down a bunt for a hit. I mean, this is a guy that he could sit there and be like, I'm in a contract year. I need as many home runs as I can hit. The guy has 4 bunt for a hits this year. I think he's in 4th place this year. Okay? That's insane. That's the type of guy he is. That's why we want him back. Not just because he's a great player. Obviously he is. But he does more than what you would expect out of a star. And a good example is actually the guy that the Padres chose to keep over him. Okay? And we talked about it when they played the Padres. Fernando Tatis Jr., there was a lazy factor to him. Like, where did his defense go? I mean, we know that he's capable of it. You called him out. You're like, where's the hustle? It's just like he was playing a lazy outfield.
Well, I will say this. Can I use the Atlanta Braves as a perfect example? I'm going to tie it right back to the Padres because I think Tatis is a perfect example. Mm-hmm. Now, remember what happened with Ronald Acuna Jr. for the Braves just a few years ago.
Oh, yeah, of course.
There was a play where he hit a ball very similar very strikingly similar to what Gabe Torres did yesterday. And Ronald Acuna's hit a lot of homers in his career, okay? And he will hit plenty more. But he thought he got a ball. He thought he hit a ball that was leaving the stadium, and he was jogging. Don't you know he doesn't get to second base? Doesn't get to second base. Very similar to Glaber, same result. Mm-hmm. The Braves pulled him immediately. Get off the field. Off the field. Post-game, Ronald Acuna Jr. said, it's just unacceptable of what I'm doing. But after that, which is really the only thing that's important, you got a different version. Ronald Acuna Jr., you can talk all day long about whether or not you want to hustle on plays or you want to make the extra play and help out a teammate. But who are you when you chop a ball to shortstop? The play's 99% of the time going to be made. Who are you then? And we're going to find that out. And as time's gone on, Acuna has been a much better version because the team set a precedent that's bare minimum work. I don't give a damn who you are. You put in the bare minimum work because if we want to win a title, you need to be a part of that process. Long behold, they lose Ronald Acuna Jr. in his production. And the other guys, all the little guys on the roster who followed suit from Acuna, who was essentially changing right before our eyes, they held him accountable. They won a World Series without the guy. So it goes to show you how important it is for guys like Verdugo, for guys like Torres, to do the little stuff, because if without that stuff, teams don't win titles when the role players aren't doing what they're told. If the role players aren't going that extra mile, because all you're doing really, when you talk about the Padres and what Tatis is doing, when guys like that aren't bringing it every single day, you're just putting more pressure on role players to perform that day. You're putting more pressure on role guys to come through in ways that, frankly, you shouldn't be asking of them. You really shouldn't be going that way.
Gary. I'll actually say something else. I think it sets a bad example where now role players are like, well, I mean, if Juan Soto doesn't care, why do I care? Think about it. If Juan Soto ever got to the point where he stopped caring in the outfield and just like half-assed it, why would Oswaldo Cabrera, who looks up, why would he care?
Do you consider Xander Bogaerts a bigger face for the Padres than Fernando Tatis Jr.?
I'm actually not sure who the face is there. I mean, profile.
Right. So, but do you feel like the Padres right now, if you had to ask them, who do you think your best player is? What would you think they'd tell you?
Fernando Tatis Jr.
Perfect. That's exactly where you should have gone with that. So Fernando Tatis Jr., the Padres would explain to you that he's our best player. He's the guy that should be leading the ship. 100%. Couldn't agree more. But listen to this. If that's the case, why would a player who, in Xander Bogaerts, who signed till his age, through age 41, okay? Yeah. He's going to be an old man. He's going to be a shell of himself, making over $30 million a year to play for the Padres.
Offended all these people.
Whatever. I'm old. I'm 30. Why would you ask Xander Bogaerts to dive for a ball that he doesn't have to dive for if Fernando Tatis Jr., the face of your franchise, won't do it? Aaron Judge has shown us now, by this time, if you're not paying attention, if you're not going to watch him, when he hits a homer, he's busting it out of the box. He slows down once the ball is left.
Yeah.
I know Gabe Torres didn't learn that from Aaron Judge. Where'd he learn it? Well, in my opinion, Aaron Boone has to set a precedent that is bare minimum work, and pulling Gabe Torres out of the game was a huge step in the right direction. I thought Ben Rice today, you never know. What happened in yesterday's game with Gabe Torres and holding him accountable may have impacted Ben Rice today. Maybe. So I don't want to just shower Aaron Boone with credit, but I will talk about the positives to making the right decision in the moment, because when someone does something to tell you that they'd rather be doing something else than playing baseball, hitting ground balls to shortstop for your team, well then why should I have you? Right? And so today's game, and I don't want to make it seem like a negative, because today was a bunch of positive. It was a bunch of dudes that seemed like playing for the Yankees actually meant something. Now, will it tomorrow? We don't know. We have no idea. But we're going to find out. We're going to see, is Alex Verdugo, when he rolls over to second base, is there going to be any type of accountability? Is there going to be accountability for Gabe Torres? We're going to find that out.
Yeah, that's actually kind of the thing we talked about. Like, I don't give a rip. Like, we're talking about Glaber. You had the great analogy about the license plate being expired, but you already got in the accident. You care about the license plate now. I think I get why people were upset yesterday. That like it almost seems like there is a pick on Glaber. And like I totally agree with you. And we agreed on it. Like, this is a Glaber situation. But today, after Glaber gets benched, there should not be anybody jogging. And Verdugo did his usual jog. So it just tells me that,
Wild
this
stuff.
guy, and also very wild stuff. Glaber's not the only one who's a free agent after the season. Verdugo is. The only difference is Glaber came up in this organization. They developed him. Obviously not the full time. They got him from the Cubs, but they did develop him, was a top prospect, and he has been a fan favorite when things have gone well. A lot of people pointed out that he was the best player on the team last year. Verdugo has only been a Yankee for however many games they've played so far. So I'm going to be honest with you. I need to see more out of Verdugo. If you're having an 0 for 5 day, I need you to run it out. Also, it literally takes nothing at all. You're not playing soccer. So it's not like you have to keep your body conditioned the entire game and you can't just like sprint every single time. You're not playing
It's
hockey.
90 feet.
You're playing baseball. Okay. So you are going to sit the bench a lot, when you're waiting for guys to hit. You are going to sit there, especially in left field. You're going to sit there and wait a lot. Why can't you run 90 feet? Exactly. To your point, 90 feet. Why can't you do that? Like, my dad, when he was coaching me at a young age, he always said, just assume every time you put the bat and the ball in play, someone is going to make an error. Someone is going to drop it. Because if you assume that and you're busting ass down the line, eventually it's going to happen. Someone is going to do like today with Horwitz, who misplays the ball. And I mean, that's the thing. And what, you always have to be paying attention as well. Because if you're just like, and that's another thing, when you're just jogging down first, it's like these guys have no awareness. It's like they're like defeated. It's like last time I checked, I mean, the ball hasn't gotten to first yet. And what ends up happening, and we've seen it actually before, I remember a certain play, it was a while ago, earlier in the season, Verdugo was doing his jog. There was a throw that goes by the first baseman, okay? And it went off the sidewall and went into the outfield. He should have been at second.
Of course.
He had no idea.
No, it's absolutely not. And Jake, I will say this about the Yankees as a unit.
Yeah.
We haven't won a World Series in 15 years.
Exactly.
That's a long time. Okay, so let's be clear. At some form or another, in an October run, it's tight. The difference between winning and losing is marginal. So if you really want to talk about what is going to allow us to get a break in winning a title in October, it's probably going to be one guy going from first to second base because he took the extra bag on a ball that's thrown away, and then it turns into a bleeder single the other way, and you say, okay, tie game, we go to extra innings, and we win, right? Yeah. In order for those things to happen, for the ball to bounce our direction, we have to, in some way or another, make our own luck. Today was a step in the right direction for a team that seems like they wanted to make their own luck. That's my whole point. And also, to the point about Verdugo, there's a replacement in place for Alex Verdugo. There are options for the Yankees, and that man is Jasson Dominguez. And I've heard over the last couple of days, and I want to explain to people the situation, at least statistically, of what's been told, that we don't have confirmation that this is why the Yankees haven't called up that replacement, but it's at least there. Now, the situation is that Jasson Dominguez last year accumulated 31 at-bats. Now, he was spectacular in those 31 at-bats. He looked like a superstar. Awesome. Obviously, tears his UCL, gets surgery. He's out till this year. Well, in order to become a rookie and stay a rookie, the Yankees, I guess, and you explained it to me before the show, if the Yankees have a player who wins Rookie of the Year, this happened with the Arizona Diamondbacks and Corbin Carroll, you get a first-round draft pick. Is that correct?
Yes. I mean, it's at the end of the first, but it's considered like it's a compensatory pick for essentially they're rewarding you. They're trying to incentivize calling up a player in your top one in the MLB pipeline top 100. So essentially, if a player starts in the top 100 when the season begins, right, and they win Rookie of the Year, you get a draft pick. And of course, that means there's 2 draft picks. The Baltimore Orioles got one for Gunnar Henderson. And I believe there's some other stuff there as well, incentives. But anyway, those are the main things to talk about. So also, I think MVP would also net you one.
Right. So back to the statistics. He had 31 at-bats last year. The number is if he has 130 at-bats, it's done. You're no longer a rookie. So statistically, you do the math, 129 minus 31. We've got 98 at-bats remaining of Jasson Dominguez to maintain his rookie status. So if he's a starter, which everyone thinks he is, you divide your 98 at-bats remaining by 4. You've got 24 and a half games played, essentially left on Jasson Dominguez to maintain that. Now, our opinion on this show is who gives a rip about a pick in the end of the first round, because what have the Yankees done with those picks? Not much. So in order for you to tell me that you're not going to call up a player who's desperately needed on this roster over a late first round pick potentially down the road, because Jasson Dominguez still has to go win Rookie of the Year. It's not easy to do. So to protect a first round potential pick, silliness. We are in the middle of a pennant race. We are tied for first place in this division. And this isn't confirmed that they're doing this. This is just something that's out there. So if you ever see this, like if Jasson Dominguez gets called up September 10th, for example, that would be blasphemous to protect this. So that's our take.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. You said it best. I mean, I understand the picks are nice, but, the reality of it is that it's not guaranteed. It's not like if you don't play him until September 12th against Boston, which is probably, I'm going to say that's when we see him. I think you and I talked about that off air. The 4, that 4-game set, we know how the Yankees are about calling up prospects. They'd make a big deal about calling up Jasson Dominguez. It would be like, all that. They're not doing it on the road. This is going to be in the Bronx. And to me, either the Kansas City Royals series from the 9th to the 11th in September or the Boston 4-game set, the 12th to the 15th, are the options, right? Because then you have at Seattle, at Oakland, then Baltimore. That's pretty late in the season. So I think you'd want him before that, because let's be honest, that Baltimore series could be everything. In all likelihood, if things go the way they are right now, Baltimore and the Yankees are going to be neck and neck. So, but this is the point, right? If the rule was like, and this sounds ridiculous, but hear me out. If you knew Jasson Dominguez, if you don't play him those games, we're giving him the Rookie of the Year next year. You get your pick, right? You know that. That's a little different, right? That's guaranteed. 162 games. Dominguez could get hurt the first game of the season next year, and then he doesn't win Rookie of the Year. And then you might even cost yourself, and hear me out when I say this, you might cost yourself the number 1 seed trying to worry about this. So again, to your point, we don't know for sure that this is the case. We don't. But a lot of reporters are starting to put this out there. So
a lot of people are talking about this, which worries me.
That tells me there's something there, and this is up Cashman's alley. This really is. And I mean, he kind of told us without telling us in his politician-esque presser after the trade deadline that they're not in any hurry to call this guy up. And we thought, okay, he's hitting 189, although now he's starting to hit a lot better. He destroyed a double today off the wall, but he's starting to hit better. But I mean, the point was we didn't want him called up just like rushed if he wasn't ready, right? Because he is essentially coming off an injury.
Don't try to time it, is what we said. Yeah. If he's ready, call him up. Don't make this a whole dance. It's not hard. I don't care about a first round pick next year for a player who's going to help us in 3 years. Give me the best players available in the middle of a win now season. It is so simple. If Jasson Dominguez is physically ready to perform, he's on the big league team. Don't tell me about Verdugo of late since the break. Don't tell me about Grisham and his role. Don't tell me about any of these players.
Yeah, I don't care.
Call up the player that you've been telling me was untradeable. As long as he's physically ready to go, as long as he's in game action form, He's on the big league roster. End of story.
Number one priority is getting that 1 seed.
Winning.
If you get the 1 seed, well, right now, you get the 1 seed in the AL, that means you have home field advantage. Okay.
Right.
ALCS game 7 goes to the Bronx. Do you want to play in Houston again? Do you want to go to Baltimore? Do you want to go to Cleveland? Because I don't. Okay. Number 1 seed is absolutely crucial. Do not even try to succumb to the idea where, as long as we get in, we'll be okay. No. No.
We've done that for 10 years. Do the most in the regular season, get there first, and then once we've gotten there, now we'll worry about that. But don't talk about, we can't project stuff in the future. Just do the best thing you can do right now.
Exactly. So, those are our thoughts. We're waiting obviously on Clark Schmidt, Cody Poteet. Ian Hamilton is ramping up his progress there. John Birdie got an ejection. That's kind of funny. John Birdie got an injection. So we'll see what ends up happening with those guys. But right now, the Yankees have won 6 of the last 7. Those are the facts. Right now, Anthony Volpe, Austin Wells, these guys are hitting well. Okay. There is one guy who just mentioned, Verdugo, who has been hitting decent, but in the really immediate, the short term, he's starting to struggle again. So you have a guy in Jasson Dominguez, whenever he's ready, that you need to call up. It's really that simple. So those are our thoughts. Tomorrow, another early game, Gary. So hopefully you're ready for that.
See you for breakfast. I'll have my omelet at IHOP and then watch the Yankees play.
1:35 a.m. Garrett Cole is taking the mound. This is probably the most important start of the year to this point, because if Garrett Cole looks bad again, I think he's going on the IL. I really believe that. So if he really struggles, let's be honest here. I'll take today's win. It was fun to watch. Let's also be real. Okay, Rodon looked good, but you got George Springer, who's nothing like George Springer on the Astros. Loper Fido. Okay, Guerrero's great. Guerrero Jr. is great. Kirk, Horwitz is solid. Clement, Davis Schneider, Varsho, Jimenez, Baroa is hitting 143. They pinch hit him for a guy who's hitting 195. This is a absolutely decrepit roster right now, aside from a few guys.
Yeah, they sold. They just didn't trade their main guys. So, by the way, Jake, since we won this game, I'm giving everyone a movie. If you stuck around for the podcast this long, if you put The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, my favorite Nicolas Cage film, you stuck around.
The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent?
Yep. Great movie. For anyone who hasn't seen that movie, amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I got to put it on my list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw 2 movies. Well, I think I already told you. The Talented Mr. Ripley and
Inception.
Catch Me If You Can. No, I didn't end up seeing Inception. I wanted to.
It was an Inception that you saw Inception.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'll see it eventually, but yeah. But anyway, you have to say the other one because now they're going to be like, don't give us movies. We're trying to, So
no, they have to say The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. If they did that, they were here.
I agree. So that's going to do it. Tomorrow, early 1:35 Eastern time game, Garrett Cole versus Undecided. Undecided has a 0 ERA, a 0 whip. But all jokes.
We might need Undecided to replace Stroman in the rotation right now.
Oh my God.
Come on now. It's crazy.
The silhouette gets me every time. But that is going to do it. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys soon, and you guys take care.
And like this video.